What's happening, folks? All right, so I wanted to continue a little bit on in the discussion we were having about friends of the opposite sex, but I will say I'm going to take it a bit in a different direction, and I'm going to put this squarely in the context of my relationship with Samantha. So this is about us and our union. And over the weekend, I had two events that occurred that brought this conversation back to mind, and I realized that it's actually deeper than that. And so here's the first situation. Friday night, we go and hang out, and we end up hanging out with one of Samantha's friends. Now, I would consider this person a friend of mine. Like, I really got real love for this person, would consider them a friend. With that said, the reason we are friends is because she's friends with my wife, right? And so it's like that's not missed on me. I recognize our friendship is through Samantha, and so we are all friends, but it's my wife's friend, right? But what I realized was that matters to me too, right? Like it's not just friends of the opposite sex where I would be conscious of in terms of, who are this person, vetting, etc. But whoever my wife becomes close with, we're a union. It's going to affect me one way or the other. And so it does behoove me to know who my wife is considering close, right? Like I do choose to be involved in that level of relationship to an extent to make sure that again we don't have to be close, but at least I know character wise I don't have anything to be concerned about my wife becoming close with this person because from what I sense of this person I'm good with. And so that was just the first part that kind of struck me over the weekend, that the way I feel about who we become friends with since we've been together is not specific to people of the opposite sex, that I'm actually as invested in and interested in who she just engages with just in general, because again we are together. And so interestingly enough, Father's Day, I went to church and my father spoke on Sunday, and he offered these 4 foundation stones of purpose for manhood and fatherhood. And I thought it was really fascinating, being that we were having a conversation about being in a relationship. Obviously I'm talking about this specifically being in a marriage, and when you think about vetting friends of the opposite sex, but then realizing over the weekend, for me, it actually includes friends of the same sex. Like I'm just going to be invested in who my wife is spending time with. But then to hear this message about 4 foundation stones of purpose for manhood and fatherhood, and this is, per the message. And so the first one was seeking God's guidance in developing a Bible-based faith. Okay. Seeking God's guidance in developing a Bible-based faith. Number 2, seeking God's guidance in developing a family based on the Bible. Okay. Seeking God's guidance in developing a family based on the Bible. Number 3, focusing on God's direction for your future, or God's directed future, finding the purpose for your life, right? And then number 4, developing the right friends. You go to a service, and the first 3 foundational principles, like it resonates, it makes a lot of sense. It's really biblically based. And so you understand exactly why these would be foundational stones. But for the fourth one to be developing the right friends, it just means that it all matters. And so I say all that to say that in light of the conversation about opposite friends of the opposite sex, when it comes to Samantha and I, we are also invested in the friends our spouse makes of the same sex. Like it all is going to matter, because in terms of our foundation, developing the right friendship is part of a foundational component of our lives. I did not know it to be that. I did not know it to be that, but I do realize I wanted to share another video because I do weigh in on all the relationships, because it will matter to us. It will affect us. And so I guess it'll be the final part of this video. We kind of can sum it up, unless Samantha has something else to share. But I just wanted to put that out there, that this isn't a thought process that we have specific to friends that our spouse have of the opposite sex. And the reality is that whoever comes into my wife's life will matter to me. And I'm going to make sure that this person is operating in our best interests. That's what I got. What do you think, folks? Let me know.